What if she's indicted and he runs anyway? So it'll be horrible. Maybe just sit him down and say, "You're who's going to sit him down, please? You."
Okay. Harold, would you send a message to the Daf Yomi group
Yes.
that the Zoom is on and that we're starting to start this year?
I don't think they can get rid of him. I think he's going to run.
Who? What?
In the middle.
Who? Donald?
Yeah.
Why?
He's going to ruin the chance of Republicans winning. Yeah, he's going to ruin it. If he takes, it's like Perot. It's when Ross Perot, the third party is always terrible.
No, he's going to DeSantis, yes. But you know who is going to end to be president?
Who?
One guess. Gruzam.
Oh no, that's going to be.
He's running.
You think he's going to go for the Democrats?
Yeah, he'll run.
Who else?
He won't win.
Who else?
He's too
Kamala is not black. You get this thing, but Roses are. Kamala is not black. Joe has dementia.
Yeah,
and Hunter is a crackpot. Maybe we should.
I told him get lost.
Morning, Alan.
Hi, Lazar. Lazar, can you hear us? Lazar? Yes, he can.
Hi.
Okay.
Could I ask you something?
Yes.
Let me see if I can get it here. Okay, here.
Run your dollar.
A second. I got it. Fix this here, Julie. Wait, Julia. Ernie, when the Torah says that a woman who was raped have to give to the father 50 chamishim, whatever it is, the amount.
Chamishim shekel kesef.
Yeah, so is it only to the father, or if she's a Bulgarian, does she get it also, or just to their father if she's a Nara? Does it give it to her also? Let's say she's over 12. She's over 12. Does she give it to? Does he give it to her as well? Because the Torah says just to the father.
Correct. I'd have to look in the Rambam to see what the psak is regarding Bulgaris.
Yeah. Also want to ask you, is that what is that 50 equivalent to?
But there is this opinion that he has to marry her.
Yeah, no, but if she doesn't want to, she doesn't want to marry him.
That could be by a Bulgaris, so that protects her financially.
So is that what would that why would she only get the 50? Would that be Nezek Saripa Shevas Boshes, where he abuses her, where he takes, where he abuse? What is the
right.
why?
There's a special knas that the Torah.
It's a knas.
That because that's the kiddushin, and then she's his wife, and he can't force her.
Yeah, but she doesn't want to marry him, so he raped her. So that was could be under the.
We can't force her. We can't force her if she doesn't want to.
No, I'm saying, but he should pay her for Nezek Sari Pasheva Saboshas then.
That's separate. That's like damage.
No, it doesn't say that. Does it say?
Yeah, if she was a basula, now you damage. She would have damage claims as well. Now, who's calling me here?
So also, is that the 50 equivalent to the difference between a basula and a boogie
By the way, we're gonna learn all of this sugya. It's gonna come up in Kesubos. It's gonna come up. The whole sugya of mefate and all of this all gonna come up. We're gonna learn all these things.
Okay. Thank you.
Their location.
Thank you. Okay.
So Yud Aleph 11. Hagioris, a convert. Vashvuya, a girl who's taken prisoner. Now, a Gioires is assumed to not be a Basula because the Goyim were Mazan all the time. There was Hefkerus there. In all these cases, these would be cases where she would be considered a Bu'ula. The Chazaka would be she's a Bu'ula. Shvuya, when the pirates took captives. So again, we assume that they were raped. Hashivcha, Sheniftu, Vishniz Gairu, Vishniz Tachachu. You have a Shivcha Knanis. So the Shvuya, we're talking about the Sheniftu, it refers to a Shvuya, Pidyon Shvuyim. You redeemed her, you brought her back to the community. The Nizgairu refers to the Gyoris. The Shivcha refers to the Nishtachachru, right? If you have a Shivcha Knanis, and then you free her, so she's Jewish. So Walter, okay, so we have Walter and Anna Lazar. Hi, Walter, good. And the whole group here in Shul. Now, if all of this happens, now, there is a concept that if you're younger than 3, Bia doesn't do anything to your Basulim. Only after that Bia can do something to your Basulim. And either they grow back or they're not affected the first part. So therefore, Ksubas and Messiah, their Ksuba is still 200. Because even though if you're older than 3, you would be considered a Ba'ula. By the way, during davening, Betty called me. He's doing much better.
Okay.
Yeah, he still has some drains in, but he's doing better. Yesh Latanis Basulim. And then when they get married, a husband would have the right to take her to Bezdin and make a Tainus Basulim, because it's as if she still has her Basulim. Even though these are examples or classes of women who otherwise would be assumed to be Ba'ulos. On Ravuna, a side din he brings in. Ger cotton, but Bill knows all that's based. Normally, a convert family, Goyim, husband and wife, Goyim, they're converting, and they have little children. So normally they convert as a family. The Bezdin converts the parents and the children. What if there's a cotton and there's no father or mother? He's a ger cotton, so you can be toivel, a ger cotton, al das Bezdin, al shem. You need 3 people by the tefillah, by like the din, by all tefillahs ger. You need 3, and they become like the father, and they become the child becomes a ger. And if he touches wine, the wine is no longer yain nesach because he's a Jew. So my kamashmalan, what are you teaching me here? This chushulo, becoming a Jew is considered a merit, not a liability. And there's a general rule: zachin l'adam shelo b'fanav. You can be someone has a lottery ticket that he's the winner, and I find it on the street and I pick it up for him, and it's a Harold's lottery ticket. I can be zachin on behalf of Harold.
I say cutting as no das,
So
make a dress on a baby.
That's what it means.
Just for the future.
Shalom not involved. I can be zocher for him. And it's dafka because he has no das. But even if you have das, I can be zocher for him. I can be zocher for somebody with das or without das. Now, let's say there's an IOU signed by that guy where he owes $50,000 to somebody. I can't be chavin la'adam shalom b'fanav. I can't be zocha. I can't be kona liability for somebody without his das. As chos, yes. So that's the chiddush here, that converting to Judaism is considered as chus, right? So now the same. Listen, a goy likes being hefker. Doesn't have mitzvahs. I can fool around, whatever I want to do. What, maybe it is a chav for him. We know that by avodah there was this one big hefkerus. And maybe he's happy that Kabash Milan, Hanimili Godel, the Tam Tamisura. When do we say the Avodim are hefker and therefore it might be a chav? That's by an adult. Eved. He has tasted Isser. He likes it. So for him, you would not be able to be megayer him without his das. A cotton is chusulo. But for cotton who doesn't know the Tam Isser yet, it's a complete chus. Okay. Leba Messiah. The Gemara is going to want to use our Mishnah to support this din of Rav Huna. If all these events, the Giyores, the Pidyon Shvuyim, etc., happened before she was 3 years old, they remain besulos. My love. And what do we mean? Shivcha shenishtachachru. That vilinu al das besdin. Well, she's young. Who is Megayer her? Must be she was a ger cotton that underwent tvila das besdin. Lo hachmaiskin begesh this ger bonav of noisavimo. This was a case, a 2-year-old girl that came along with her parents. That's what we mean by shivcha shenishtachachru, but not that she was nisgayer by herself. The nichalu b'may David avuan. She's happy with what her parents are doing. Parents are big megayer. She's megayer. Rav Yosef, you should know that when you're being megayer cotton, when they become 12 years old, let's say it's a girl, or 13 years old is a boy, they can protest and say, I don't want giyur. They have an out. It's for Abaya. So Bai brings a fine kasha. If they were a guy before 3 or whatever, it was all before 3, we say, even though normally it's considered that they're bu'ulos, here because technically bia before 3 can't occur and doesn't affect their hymen, ksubas is masayim. The ksuba is 200 like a psula. So, but if they can change their mind later on, Yavin like ksuba the azla v'achla begoyusus. Understand? You give her ksuba now, then later on when she's 12, she's going to change her mind. Meanwhile, she's eating up all the ksuba money, and then she's going to become a goy. So the Gemara answers lachi gadla. She only gets the ksuba when she's an adult. What do you mean? If she could also take the ksuba and then later on change her mind? No. The din is, once she hits 12 years old, that minute we ask her, you want to stay Jewish? And she says, she has to protest then. 1 minute after, she remains, if she didn't say anything, she remains Jewish. So then there's never going to be a problem that she's going to eat out the ksuba. Masif Rav. Elu nara sheyesh lein knas. So the case that Elazar was asking about, where a girl is raped, that's specifically a nara, who is a girl between the age of 12 and 12 and a half. You become a Bulgaris at 12 and a half. You're a cotton prior to 12. So the din of knas is just that 6-month period where you give it to the father. Now, these are naros that have knas. Habala mamzeres. You have a mamzeres. So lo yavo mamzer b'kal Hashem. Normally you can't give them chubah v'kiddushin. Maybe you'll think you rape a mamzeres. Right? There's no penalty or alanis. These were people who were magayer. Later on, we rejected their giyur, but at the time of Chazal, they were still considered magayer. V'ala giyoris, or you rape a giyoris, v'ala shvuya, right? A girl that was taken prisoner, that was redeemed. Well, maybe we'll say she's a be'ula, so she doesn't get the kanas, v'ala shivcha sheniftu, as long as in all these cases it happened before she was the age of 3, and then the psula is still intact. Yeshlan knas. You pay knas. Now, so, but if we're going to say they can protest when they get an adult, what do you mean? They're going to pay the knas, when she was 5, whatever. Then when she grows and she changed her mind, she got the knas and she's not Jewish. The Gemara says we only pay the knas l'chigatla. More l'chigatla nami minchav, so she can change her mind as well. No. Again, we answer, Kivan shigdila shachas v'loy mechasa shuv enei cholim. She can't protest anymore after 1 minute once she was 12 years old. Once she's 12 years old, she has to make a decision. Because why didn't Abai answer like Rava? There's a svara to knas. Can't people go around committing averis like that and not have any financial penalty? Ksuba is a different reason. Ksuba is it shouldn't be easy for a husband to divorce his wife. You know what? There's a financial penalty. If you divorce his, so it didn't make light in Jewish marriages. Jewish marriage is an important mishnah. Hagodol shabala ktana. An adult has relations with a ktana. A cotton has relations shabala gdoila. So with the gadol that had relations with the ktana, we're talking about a ktana pchusim mibat shalosh shonim. She'ein biyasa bia. Shori psula choizrin. The Rashi says the psulas come back. So the bia is not a bia. Or cotton pachos mi ben tesha. The cotton, the male cotton that we're talking about is less than 9 years old. She'anu chachamim ein biyasa bia. And such an 8-year-old boy had relations with a gedolah. And then umukas eitz. Mukas eitz is a girl who was riding a bike and fell off and damaged her basulam. It happened externally, a stick or something penetrated her, and that's called a mukas eitz. The Mishnah says, according to Meir, ksubasun masayim, im nasu liish achrechem. If they got married afterwards, lo avdu bekachas ksubasun, im nasu stam v'lo pirish lo klum. Means he didn't make any stipulations, make any tanoim or anything like that, and it's a regular marriage. She gets masayim, she gets 200. Chacham mukas eitz ksubasun mona. Chacham argue. Chachamim say she's not a psula technically, and therefore she only gets 100. Period. Now, we had a previous Mishnah that talked about psula almon and grusha v'chlutza min kiddushin, right? A woman was given kiddushin, and then the guy died, so she's an almona. But there's no intimacy by kiddushin. It only occurs later on by nesuin. So there we said she retains her status as a besula, and she gets Messiah. However, here, psula almona grusha v'chlutza min nesuin. So she went into chuppah. Once she's in chuppah, we assume that she's a be'ula. So she's a din. She has a din. She's a din of be'ula. There's yichud. We have 6 different ways. Chuppah. What is chuppah? So there's 6 different pshatim in chuppah. We do all of them. Some say just putting the badekin is chuppah. Some say you got to go into the room yichud for a period of time, and that's what we do. We do all of them. So since one of the things we do is yichud in a room with a period of time where bia could take place, it's considered that bia took place. So psula almana grusha v'chlutza min nesuin ksubasin mana. The ksuba is only right. She was an almana. What do you mean a psula who got married because she was a psula as an almana before, or she was a grusha v'chlutza min nesuin. Again, her husband died before they could do it. They went to the still ksumana. In this is la'acher. If then she marries another man, because stam ksubasamana, the cheskes pe'ula kaima mishenichtas l'chuppah. She's got a status of the chazaka is she's a be'ula when she went into the chuppah. And the next husband also cannot bring a claim to Bezdin the night after he marries her that she's not a besula, because again the chazak is that she's a beula, and he can't cause her to lose the 100. Now there's only 100, and maybe I married her on the chazak that she was a besula, and now this is a mekachtos. Now if he says something mafurish, he says it's open. I'm not. We're talking about if they got married stam and he didn't make any statements like such a statement. But then we assume that he accepted the way she is and he has to pay her 100. Okay. We continue. Right? A 5-year-old girl comes, she's a goyata and she converts. A 5-year-old girl was taken prisoner. not a 5-year-old girl, anyone, any age, taken prisoner, and then we redeem her. So we assume she was raped. And therefore, even if she had not been married, we assume she was a bu'ula. A shivcha, who was nizgayer after the age of 3. So in their shvach, as a shivcha, there's hefkerus. So we assume that she was a bu'ula. So in all these cases, ksubas and mana, when they get married, they're all going to get a ksuba mana, and Eilan Tainus Psulim. And then the husband has no claim of Tainus Psulim the day after the marriage because she's assumed to be a bu'ula. We said a cotton under the age of 9 was relations with a gdoila. Asa mukas eitz. So it's not full bia. Nehi Rashi. The ain bia so bia. Miu logar me'etz anitka. It's no worse than riding on a bicycle, having a stick penetrator. Now, the chachamim that we saw in the Mishnah argued from there that said that she is considered mukas eitz, and the ksus only a mana. The chaylein kohen gadol, right? Well, yisas mukas eitz. A kohen gadol has to marry a besula. So do we say a mukas eitz is still a besula technically because she really didn't have relations? Her hymen was broken by something else. So no, according to this pshat of Rav Yudam Marav, she's a mukas eitz, and a kohen gadol would not be able to marry.
So every girl that go to a gynecolog is also
No.
psula?
Yes, it's a psula, because the gynecolog wouldn't put a speculum or do a penetrative examination.
Why not?
Because they don't.
So what is a gynecolog doing?
Well, if you're 11-year-old girl, they don't do a gynecological
Not
examination.
11, but 18.
Even 16, 17.
Girls don't go to gynecolog by 16, 17, 18. I don't know. I asked.
What do you think he's having sex with her? What do you think he's doing?
No, he a speculum.
Yeah.
So they won't. They would also want to.
Yeah.
They would also. They wouldn't do speculum.
Yeah. That's why there's a nurse there, right?
Well, there's a nurse in there
Yeah.
on every examination because they can make claims that you did something to them. But the girl has to say to the gynecologist, listen, please don't do a speculum examination on me. But by a 17-year-old non-Jew who's sexually active, so they may do. They're not pursuing anymore.
Well, it could be a man.
So if you go to a gynecologist, they're going for birth control, whatever the story is.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I'm not talking about.
Okay, but a Jewish girl, if she's going to say, usually that is going to go with her mother, usually, and so it doesn't happen.
Not happen. Something sexual.
Even with a speculum. Even with a speculum. Now, if the girl's having a gynecological problem and needs an examination, then that might need to happen. And then she's a mukas eitz. Then she'd be a mukas eitz. And then we'll have to see what the dinim of the mukas eitz is. Yeah. Means you can't. They wanted to say that the bia of a cotton is going to make her a mukas eitz. So Shmuel says no. Having sex with a boy who's not really penetrating properly, that's not going to make her a mukas eitz. Other people learn the sugi a little differently. Kotna bala gdoila, Rav Omer asa mukas eitz, u'Shmuel Omer basur. No, through not a stick, just with a child whose bia is not a full bia, it doesn't rise to the level of mukas eitz. Masir Rav Shaya, Godel Shabala Ketana. An adult has relations with a ketana, or cotton habala gdoila. Then it says umukas eitz, like as a separate category. Ksubasa masayim divrei meir. The chachamim mukas eitz ksubasa mana. You see, they're including mukas eitz separately from cotton habala gdoila. So you see, cotton habala gdoila is a different category. So Omer Rav Achi Kamer Godel habala ketana v'lo klum. The pachas mikan kenois. We're talking about a godel who had relations with a girl less than 3 years old. It doesn't change her status. The pachas mikan kenois edzva ba'ayin dami. Having relations with a less than 3-year-old girl, it's like putting your finger in the eye, rubbing your eye. Doesn't do anything. And the psulim grow back, whatever. The cotton habala gdoila asa mukas eitz. But a cotton who has relations with a gdoila does make her mukas eitz. Period. Umukas eitz gufa plukted Rabbi Rabbanan. And the issue of whether Mukas eitz is a problem or not is machlekes. Rabbi Rabbanan. Rabbi says she's still a besula. The Chacham says she's not, and therefore you can't marry Kohen Gadol. Only get 100. Rabbi says she can marry Kohen Gadol, and she gets 200. However, Amar Rabbi Chacham machlekes k'shehikar ba. K'shenichnas the cost of Laksuba, right? When they wrote the Ksuba, and he accepted it. So if the husband knows about it, Rab Meir Medami Lela Bogeres. Now, the act of being a Bogeres, she's growing. So in some ways, you could think that her hymen is being diminished just through growth. And Rab Meir holds that and everybody holds that just because you're a Bogeres doesn't make you now less of a Basula. So Rav Meir is saying she's just like a Bogeres in that case if he recognizes that she was a Mukasitz. However, Rabbanan Medami Lula Bu'ula. But the Rabbanan said no. The Mukasitz is like a Bu'ula. That's the Kaimelon Shekalups Psuleha, that somehow the Basulim become diminished. The Torah B'Bsuleh Prat LeBogeres Shekalup Psuleha Afilo Achi Ksubos Masava Bogeres still gets 200. Second.
I don't know. Elijah went off for a second. I don't know. Ernie, you're freezing.
Emergency calls. Okay. So let's say he didn't know about it. Divrei Akol v'lo klum, it's mekach tos. He assumed that she was a besula. She's not a besula. Everybody will agree that he can back off her marriage, and she doesn't even get 100. Now, Rav Meir, why does Rav Meir treat this like a Bogeres? Nidme leBe'ula. Why doesn't he compare to a Be'ula? Because Be'ula is Yavin b'maisa b'dei Adam. In Be'ula, there was a human act that was done to her. Halo is Yavin b'maisa b'dei Adam. But here she fell. It's not a Maisa Adam that led to this. And certainly Bogeres is not Maisa Adam. Like just her aging, there's no problem. It's not. I would not. That is not going to diminish her. Why are the Rabbanan machmir to say that she's a be'ula? What's wrong with this for to say that she's like a Bogeres? Because Bogeres was having a cloud. You can't compare. Bogeres, nothing happened to her. There was no external force at all done. She just grew. Now here, Mukas Eitz fell off a bike, maybe the bee of a cotton. There was some mice. Okay. Then the Brisa said of a lohikirba, but when they wrote the Ksuba, he didn't know what her status was. Then we say he can say to mekach tos, he doesn't have to pay her anything. Moshe Rav Nachman, he omeres mukat. So she admits that she has a physical problem, but mukas eitzani. Nobody had not mezameh. I don't have my basulim because I had an accident. I went to a gynecologist, whatever the story was, right? So let's say she claims I'm a mukaseitz. Vu omer lo, keladrusis ishat. No, you were penetrated by a man who you slept with him. So what do we do with this debate between the man and the woman? Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer oimrim ne'menes. We believe her. A man marries a woman, and the chazaka was that she was a psula. And they have relations, and he finds that there's no psula. And they go to Besdin the next morning. He omer smuka seitzani. So she says, I was not mezaneh. This happened through an accident. So shma mina isla ksuba o mana mosai. So the claim is, the debate is about how much how much ksuba should be paid, 100 or 200. Not that there's no ksuba at all. The E less law, if she doesn't have any part of the ksuba, minor menace, the Kumra Gamliel. What do we mean she's believed? Alma Mukas H Shalohi Kirba, right? Because in this case, he didn't know that there was a problem with her when they got married. It's a case of Lohikir, but still, Yesh Laksuba. To you have to drive Barachama. Right? He made a statement. Well, if he didn't know what was going on, everyone holds there's no ksuba. It's not so. We see in this case there is some. It might be 100. He wants to reduce it to 100 from 200, but there is a ksuba.
Like Sumchas, Mama
I don't hear what Elazar is saying. Elazar, you saying something?
Yeah, Mama Lamuta Basafik now. It becomes a Mama Lamuta Basafik. Huh? Is it my phone or your phone? Mom?
It's Ernie's.
Huh?
Ernie froze.
We can't hear you, Elazar.
Yeah. Did I freeze or your?
We can't hear you, Elazar. Oh, Mario's there too. Okay.
Can you hear me,
So
Mario?
El Amar of Ben Hikkerbal, Vein Lo Hikkerbal. Whether he
Yeah.
knew about it, didn't know about it, Rav Meir Messiah. Rav Meir always gives her the benefit of the doubt and gives her 200. The Rabbanan makes a difference. Hikkerba Mana, because she's a Mukkah States member, according to Chachamim, it lowers her, she can't marry Kohen Gadol, right? She's considered not a Besula, so only gets 100. Then Lo Hikkerba V'lo Klum. But if he can claim Mekach Tos if he didn't know. However, Hodar Bey Rava changed his mind. Did Tanya. Ketzad Otzar Shemra. The din of Shemra is the husband trying to claim that she was not a Besula. Ketzad Otzar Shemra, Bala Bezdin, he comes to Bezdin. And he says to the father, we didn't find that your daughter was a Besula. If there are Adim that saw that she had relations after that he had given her Kiddushin, Yesh la ksuba mana. She gets 100. Freak the Gemara, what do you, in Yesh Adim shezin sataktav baskilahi? What do you mean? If she was Mizaneh as an HSC, she gets skila. As a Nara who was 12 years old, then you get skila. Achikama. Im Yesh Adim shezin sataktav baskila. Means if there are Adim that the reason why she was not a Besul because she was Mizaneh during the period between Kiddushin and Nisuin, then of course she's put to death. But Zinsami Ikara, but let's say she had relations before she had Kiddushin, so then Yesh Laksubamana, then she was not a Besul. She was not a Besula, but a Besula still gets 100, but she's not put to death. So Esameres comes out from all of this. Concept of Cheskas Besula. If he got married to her thinking that she was a Besula, for instance, Beula, there is still Yesh Laksuba Mana. Not like, right, even though Lo Hikirba, there's still a Ksuba. Most of Rav Nachman showed a steer from the following. No say Saisha Lo Matzula Psulim. Someone gets married, they didn't find that she was a Besula. And then there's a debate. He Omeres, Mishar Astani. She claims I was raped. Remember, not to get skila, she has to be a willing participant. But let's say she was raped. Kiddush was given, she was raped, and now he finds that she's not a Besulim. Well, if it's not, she's allowed to stay married to the guy, and she's claiming, I want at least a mana, right? I'm a Ba'ula, right? I want at least 100. And she says this thing to him, for example, you have a field, and your field gets rained on or washed out or there's a flood. It's your mazel. So it's your mazel. I got raped. I was walking down the street, minding my own business, somebody raped me. It's like your field got washed out. That's called nistachvas sadeu. It's not my fault. No, you fooled around before I gave you Kiddushin. And I thought I was marrying a Besula. And therefore, v'haya mechi mechatos. And klal, and I don't want to give you a dime because I'm marrying you on false pretense that I thought you were Besula. So that's the debate. we're all, it was Ravam and all the Gedolah, they're sitting there, Kiyom Rav Sheshes La Shmaitza, and we're saying this over for Kashalu who, and the Kashalu, they had a problem with Shani, and they showed that there was a difference. My Mekach Tos, Nami Mi Messiah. It means the Mekach Tos regarding whether she's a Basula versus a Ba'ula, Mona Isle. But everyone agrees that she gets at least 100. The At Leslie Klein, you say she doesn't get anything? The Omer, and this is why Rava changed his mind. Omer Rava, Manda Kamoisiv, the one who asked this Kasha Shapir Kamoisiv. Mekach Tos Lagami Mashma. Meaning, when you use the spar of Mekach Tos, it's to wipe the slate clean. If you were under the impression that she was a Basula, and that's why you're marrying her, she's not a Basula, I want all my money back. I didn't want, it's a Mekach Tos. It's like going into a store and buying something and you were completely misled by it. You have to respond like this. If there are Eidim that saw her mezaneh after he gave her kiddushin, biskit. Zinsami kara v'loklon. So if she was mezaneh before and she's not a basula, then she doesn't get anything. It's a mekach tos. Nimtzis mukas aids. However, if it's found that it was an accident because a stick hit her, she fell off her bike, so yesh l'ksubaman. She gets 100. And we could see that Rava changed his mind because it was Rava that said, according to Rabbanon, if he didn't know what was going on, no matter what the status was, even if it was a mukas 8, she didn't get anything else. So we see very clearly that Rava changed his mind. Okay, stop here.
Okay, Strach, Ernie.